Hello， 欢迎来到思想实验室。我觉得很多人现在用 AI 啊，可能有两种感觉。一种人会认为说，我可以用 AI 来拉平这个竞争的门槛，让世界变得更公平。过去不会写文案的啊，现在都可以用 AI 写文案了；过去不会画图啊，现在可以用 AI 画图了。但现实可能朝另外一个方向走。也就是 AI 正在快速的重新分配财富。那这个财富之所以会被重新分配呢，就是因为有些人应用的 AI 就是用的比别人好。那有些人呢，可能还在焦虑这个 AI 到底要怎么用。那我们看到有一些创业者，他可以用 AI 在短短几个月之内做到几百万美金的年营收。同时呢，可能还有非常多的人还在犹豫，我到底要不要学 AI？ 今天我们邀请的来宾呢，是在美国第一线看着这些趋势发生，他在哈佛商学院呢教授 MBA 的学生，每天都接触到全球最顶尖的企业主管还有创业者。那他自己呢也是一位连续的创业者和天使投资人。在哈佛的讲台上呢，他告诉大家的是，如果你把所有精力都梭哈在单一职位上，反而是一种风险最高的自杀行为。所以你必须要反内卷，来建立多重职涯，分散人生的风险。在这样残酷的生存游戏里面呢，他的建议到底是高高在上的学术理想，还是我们这些普通人救我们自己一命的解药呢？那这是我们今天要做的一场思想实验。让我们欢迎 Professor Christina Wallace. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
那我们现在想要把视角拉到最新的矽谷时事。以前呢，大家觉得写程式是金饭碗，但我想现在大家都很清楚，如果我们只要动动嘴巴，然后 AI 呢就能写出整个软体架构，好，比如说大家用的 Cloud Code 啊，或是 Codex 等等的。那现在开发产品的技术门槛呢，几乎是归零了。那别人呢用 AI 1秒也就能抄袭。如果他看到哪个网站或哪个产品很好，他就直接截图丢给 AI， 或者叫 AI 自己去爬，然后呢他就可以 copy 一个产品出来。那在这样的情况之下，对未来的这些企业或是个人来说，那条别人绝对抄不走的护城河到底还剩下什么？
Yeah, this is a real shift, and it is different. I mean, this is a moment that we're all having to face. My second startup was focused on teaching girls to code, because 10 years ago, it was the strategy. So it's a meaningful moment for us to understand that cost of making software is now basically zero. So if there's no value there, or marginal value there, the value now is in service. It's in the human side of this business. So the judgment calls, the ability to make decisions in the face of truly ambiguous situations, not just give you the pro and con list that Claude and ChatGPT are really good at, but actually make the call. And then to own that call, to be accountable for that decision, especially if it goes wrong, right? You have only a human can take accountability.
And go to jail.
And go to jail or be sued for it, right?
Yeah.
And so these are the truly human pieces of this. And we'll see this play out in ways that used to be kind of that VCs wouldn't touch, like service firms. You know, they were all over software and they said no to service firms. And we're really seeing the shift there where now AI-driven service firms are becoming really compelling investments for a lot of venture firms. The opportunity to own that client relationship, to have a truly relational ownership rather than a transactional one with the client, and then to be able to scale it using those tools is a much more compelling and defendable business model than just executing and delivering a product that software can do.
So do you mean that we need to or to focusing more on making friends and to
make friends and influence people?
Yeah, and to play baseball, play golf with our clients? How to maintain a relationship?
Yeah.
And is that what you mean? And
I mean, I certainly have a hypothesis that as we see the focus decline from the technical skills, we are going to see a much more increase focus on communication skills, on understanding psychology, history, reading the room, talking, writing, right? All of these soft skills that were kind of not really rewarded in business for a lot of the last few decades are really what AI can't do. AI can do a version of. It's sort of the uncanny valley of storytelling.
Yeah.
They put words together, but I mean, you can read anything on the internet that Claude has written, and you can clock in a second that this was written by AI. To actually offer meaning and create belief, to drive motivation and action, that is the truly human work left to do. So if that means playing more golf, I give you permission to play more golf.
Thank you, permission granted. OK， 您在哈佛的案例提到 Base44 这家公司，它的创办人单枪匹马在几个月之内呢做到了100万美金营收。这让我不仅思考这个 AI 带来的巨大红利究竟是在创造财富，还是只是将资源重新分配给动作最快的人他们抢在前头，所以他们就拿得到这些钱。在您第一线接触的这些创业者或企业当中，可不可以跟我们分享一下您亲眼看过最让你印象深刻的这个案例呢？
It's a great question because I think the answer is a little bit of both. I do think in some ways value is being consolidated into the larger frontier models, the larger enterprises that are able to control that capital right now, who have access to the chips and the data centers and the power to accumulate this data. And we've seen this in every major technological shift. This is just like the railroads several hundred years ago. So this is not a new play. This is how infrastructure usually plays out for new investments in technology. But I think on the other side, the application layer of AI, we are seeing a much more of a democratization of the wealth, where we're now seeing the cost of starting a company is going to zero. The cost of building software has gone to zero. The cost of getting access to these resources. I mean, you can be, as you just pointed out with Base44, a solo founder without having to hire, without having to raise venture capital. I mean, there are lots of brilliant would-be entrepreneurs who don't have access to the networks required to go and raise venture capital. But they have great ideas and they have the ability to go solve real problems. And now using these tools, they might actually have a shot at doing that. So one of my great examples of this is a company called Verno. It's one of my students, so I'm a little biased. But Oliver is an engineer. Worked in aeronautics before an MBA, so a deeply nerdy engineer. I love him. And he had this really deep insight around how process and industrial design drawings are done within this workflow. I mean, it's like it is a niche within a niche within a niche. It's like super specific. Yeah. But it's a huge bottleneck in this workflow. And it's really manual. And it has been tried to be automated before, and it's really hard to automate. But in this moment, now that we have completely different models and completely different tools, he thought, what if now, right? We always ask why now. What if now this is possible? So in the last 4 months, he has gone from idea to working prototype to paid pilots to first design partners. He's up on this is a real company in 4 months. He didn't hire anyone. He's technical-ish. He's been able to do this, but he's an aeronautics engineer. He's not a software engineer, right? So it's incredible that tiny little, this is a $53 billion market that no one else would have seen, but he has deep contextual intelligence. He has access to the customers. And he was able to get up and running all on his own because of what AI has made possible, because the cost of execution is zero, right? So it can be a both and.
Right. And we are seeing more and more cases like this. People with the domain knowledge, with the contextual knowledge you mentioned, can now break the barrier and lower the entrance to a whole new market. And before, people will think, oh, this is hard because the people who write codes don't have those domain knowledge. People who has those domain knowledge don't have the money to hire those
That's exactly it.
Technicians. So things are changing rapidly. So you are witnessing, the two situations is happening at the same time. Money is getting redistributed, and some people are making more money. And I'm wondering, this is just a short period of time, or in the long run, big companies, the conglomerates, they will gather all the resources and break into every domain because of AI.
Are they going to be the winners in the long run?
Like at the end, there are only 2 or 3, like, I don't know, maybe Google, Microsoft, or SpaceX, who knows? Yeah.
I think a lot of it depends on regulators, whether or not governments decide they want to weigh in. IP and copyright laws, the data that's being used to train these models, it's being used in kind of fuzzy legal territory right now. And if different legal decisions go different ways, they could suddenly, that's one of their biggest proprietary advantages right now, the data that they're training the models on. If they had to pay for that data, Claude was trained on 2 of my books. I was not paid for either of those. If they suddenly had to pay for that, that's a meaningful difference to their business model.
Right.
We also could see regulators having an opinion about antitrust approaches. Do we want just a few companies owning this whole space? So there's that piece. There's the piece that sort of looms large around whether workers can upskill faster than employers decide to cost cut, right? Are we going to see that displacement have a gap, or are we going to have this beautiful, like, musical chairs where it all just sort of works? I would love it for it to be the second. I fear it will be the first. And then I think the third piece is really around whether the general population chooses to be curious enough to tinker and to participate, or if they want to bury their head in the sand and say, I don't like this. I don't want to learn about it. I don't want to have anything to do with it. And we end up with this gap between the AI literate and the AI illiterate. If that is the case, we could have a couple of hegemonic powers that own the data, own the algorithms, own the chips, own the data centers, own the capital, and decide how everything gets made and allocated and doled out for everyone else, and that would be a real shame.
Yeah. 所以这就引导到我下一个问题就是现在 AI 不只会写程式，连中阶主管或是产品啊，还有产品经理、顾问这些角色都开始被取代了。那企业的组织架构呢，也发生剧烈的重组。那我想请教 Christina 和 Professor Wallace， 您认为未来的组织里最值钱的位置会是什么样的？那我们又该如何培养出像您在课程中提到的这种 M 型或是 T 型的人才，能够去掌握那些 AI 永远或是说在这个我们可预期的时间范围之内其实是给不了的东西？
Yeah, never say never, right?
Yeah.
So middle managers in large and unwieldy organizations, middle managers primarily function as ways to distribute strategy from the top and diffuse it into independent, individual contributors on the bottom. And they function mostly to coordinate information and to consolidate that information in both directions, right? And that's what AI is really good at, right? They can gather things, they can consolidate, they can synthesize it. It's good at moving pieces around. It's why product manager as a job is a really great job for AI to take over.
Yeah.
Because it's really about consolidating and coordinating all these pieces. So if that role, as we're seeing, is one of the ones that's being kind of taken away, what we are seeing in its place, it doesn't mean that we're going to see a completely flat organization where it's just independent contributors and a CEO. Like that's a little weird. Instead, I think we see this M-shaped team in the middle. We'll talk about that in a second. And these individual contributors on the bottom becoming much more T-shaped. So I'll start with those.
Okay.
The T-shaped experts really means you keep that expertise, but you do two things. One is you're going to figure out how to still get the best out of AI. So rather than maybe you do the entire workflow, you're going to figure out what is AI really good at, and you're going to use it to get leverage on your time, to be able to get scale, and then you're going to be able to use your expertise to quality check the work. You're not giving it stuff that you can't vet yourself. But because you're that expert, you can use it really intelligently. And then the arms of the T mean you have to build that connection between what you are an expert at and other parts of the organization so that you can translate your output and your expertise into the so what. So if you are coming out with these really sophisticated data reports, then you have to be able to go and say to finance, here's the so what for you, or you go to the COO and say, here's what you need to include for the board report, or you go to the engineers and say, here's how this affects, what you're thinking about for your roadmap for next year. So having much more of that multidisciplinary cross-collaboration mindset so that you can connect the dots a lot more.
More proactive?
To be more proactive and to have a sort of a more broader picture of what your piece of the work does for the larger organization. So I would encourage those experts not only to get up to speed with where these tools can be part of your workflow and you can get leverage on them, but also to be curious about where your work fits in the rest of your company. When you turn things in, where do those products go? And what decisions are made based off of the things that you make? And go make friends with those people. Learn how your work affects the rest of the organization. And just start building those relationships. I think it matters a lot that you start building out that contextual intelligence. For the M-shaped sort of generalists, I think this is a role that I would love to have. This is the role where you're a little bit of like everything. And this is like the engineer who also designs and the designer who pushes code and the former product manager who's also on the front lines interviewing customers and writing tickets. And so these end up being just really, imagine an M, right? Like you kind of have limbs in all these different directions. These really multifaceted team members who are capable and curious. So they can do a lot, but they are also able to learn. Even if it's not something they can do today, they're willing to pick it up. And so you can shape them into whatever you need them to be within the needs of the organization. And they can collaborate really effectively. And as things change, and that is the one thing that we can count on is change. And it's changing faster than we're able to really comprehend right now. This M-shaped team becomes so fluid and adaptable that it gives you that resiliency within the organization.
Hello， 思想实验室的大家，听到刚刚的访谈内容，你会发现，当 AI 正在让中阶主管消失，产业严重失衡，我们过去引以为傲的护城河，真的还守得住吗？如果你是主管、创业者或是企业经理人，我很推荐哈佛商学院讲师 Christina Wallace 与知识卫星合作的线上课程。他不用空话谈趋势，而是用哈佛创业社群第一手观察以及 Lovable、Base44 等 AI native company 的真实案例，带你拆解 AI 时代未来哪些商业模式正在崛起，哪些竞争优势正在消失，以及如何找到属于自己的成长与变现机会。现在点击资讯栏连结，募资期间享有低于4折的优惠，输入优惠码国威 AI 再折350元。好，那就让我们继续回到这场访谈。I have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
So how to cultivate that kind of attitude or the mindset for people who are already been, working in the past mindset? How do you change that besides reading your books or maybe the only way is to read your books and learn your courses?
No, of course not. Although they are great ideas. So the first thing is, I talk about this in the course as well, that to be a leader in times of change, you can't just have great judgment. You also have to be able to communicate that judgment. And everyone's a little bit scared right now about what AI means for their jobs. And if you show up with a message about what's changing and you don't include a message about what's not changing, no one's going to listen to all the things you want them to do. They're going to be in panic mode, survival mode, right? They're going to be in the like, I just bought a house. I have a baby coming. I've only had one job. So you have to message this in a way, and you have to mean it, right? You can't just like paper over this with a nice little PR spin. You have to message this in a way that says, look, I am not introducing these tools because I want you to train it on your workflows and then I can fire you. I want to introduce these tools so that you can take the menial, repetitive, low cognitive value work off of your plate every day and give that to AI so that you can free up your time to do this so much more interesting, creative, complex, strategic work. And if your job right now is mostly the menial, rote, again, it doesn't mean you are going away. If your tasks can be taken over by AI, let's see what else you're capable of. Let's have a conversation. Let's see if there's something you are interested in learning or skills you currently have that we haven't been able to take advantage of. Let's think about how we can redeploy the incredible talent we have that has already the knowledge of our customer, the love of our culture and our company. Like, why would we get rid of that just because we're getting efficiency? Let's have efficiency and let's level up.
刚才您的回答就引向了我接下来想要问的问题，就是面对我们现在正在见证的这场职场淘汰赛，那台湾人的直觉反应，不管是老板或是员工，通常是勤能补拙。好，那既然怕被 AI 取代呢，我们就加更多的班，考更多的证照。但是您在多重职涯组合里面给出的解方呢，完全不是这样子。您劝大家要像创投基金一样去分散投资自己的时间与身份。我想先请您简单定义一下，到底什么叫做 portfolio life， 然后以及如果一个普通的上班族想要开始实践，不管是成为 M 型人才或 T 型人才，第一步应该要做什么？
So a portfolio life, and here's the thing, everyone already has one. Everyone has a de facto portfolio.
Okay.
Your portfolio is how you are currently allocating your time and energy across the various components of your life. You've got work, your family, your health, your friends, your hobbies, maybe a religious tradition, a community. Maybe you don't have those things. Maybe the allocation is 0%, right? Maybe you want to have those things. And the total of this adds up to 100%. So, right, think about it like your financial portfolio. You have these allocations, and together it makes up the whole of your portfolio. So the thesis behind a portfolio life is that you can design your portfolio, you can design the allocations for the specific season of life you're in to allow you to have the risk, the reward profile that matches the season you're in. And then when the season changes, you rebalance, just like you would a financial portfolio. And it gives you a couple of things. Number one, it gives you diversification, right? We see that from financial portfolios. That's a huge piece of this. It also allows you to really see yourself as more than just your job. This is a huge piece of this, that your identity is greater than how you currently monetize your time. And because you have this bigger identity and because you have this diversification, it also opens up a lot more options. It gives you this optionality when things happen. You have opportunities. You're not stuck against the wall. And all of these things together gives you that flexibility to say, oh, the season has changed. I need something different now than I did before. And so let's redesign. I'm not stuck with the decisions I used to make.
I see.
So an ordinary office worker has a portfolio. They have a hobby, they have family, if they have a an exercise routine, whatever that is, the first step is to take stock of what that portfolio is. Take a little audit and say, how am I spending my time? And then looking at that, you then get to say, well, is that how I want to be spending my time? And one of the big questions in there is, am I over allocated, right? Do I have too many eggs in one basket? If all I'm doing is work and maybe family, that's a lot of eggs in the work basket. I don't have a hobby. I don't have another network, another skill set, it doesn't even have to be another income, right? It's not even about a side hustle necessarily. It's just about having other threads that you could pull on. Even if you're volunteering for a nonprofit or sitting on a board somewhere, it gives you that diversification. So part of this is sort of figuring out where you are right now and then taking stock of how might I reallocate in order to gain some of that diversification, to expand and include more of my identity, and to feel like I've got a couple more options in case things kind of go sideways.
I think it's a change of perspective to from the completely focusing on current situation and doing the day-to-day job to someone who can see where he or she is at the moment, and like a video game, you can control yourself and to move this direction or this direction. You have options, and you have a map, not like in a totally dark. I think that's a very important idea or important alert to people in right now. I mean,
a lot of the power of this model is that it gives you agency in a moment where you can feel very powerless, given all of the change that's happening. This model gives you agency to define what it is you want in your portfolio. Even if the work piece is still defined by your boss, you can still say, well, I'm going to invest in this hobby. I'm going to upskill by taking this class. I'm going to make sure that I'm not forgetting about my health or my mental health. I'm going to carve out and protect that time because that is how I'm diversifying and I'm maintaining that flexibility for me. And now I'm in the driver's seat of my life.
但说实话对一个如果台湾上班族来说好了，他可能每天都被 KPI 追着跑，然后下班呢只想躺平。那如果我们给他的建议是再去发展3到4个不同的身份，这会不会有点像在一个已经干枯的毛巾里面要叫它硬挤出水来呢？刚才教授聊的这种避险策略，会不会是一种升级版的自我剥削呢？
That is a great question. And what I want to be clear is that I am not asking you to do more. I'm not asking you to squeeze more and more into your life and pick up side hustles and add more identities for the purposes of hedging. The idea behind this is much more that you have other identities already. You are more than your work. You have other things that you were in school, that you are to your friends, that you don't get to spend much time being when you are in the office all day long. And I understand the need to go home and lie flat. I do too sometimes. But I think the instinct to put a little more time in to hit those illusory KPIs that you never quite can hit at the expense of getting to be yourself, getting to express the other parts of you, getting to partake in a hobby or be part of a community group, play a sport, be with family, right? All of these other things that bring joy and are part of your life, that can really narrow sort of the aperture of your joy and your fulfillment, and for what, right? So the point here is not to jam more in as a coping strategy for fear. The point here is to build a little bit of discipline to protect your time and allow yourself permission to make space for the other things that you really want and need to have in your life.
Professor Wallace， 你已经提倡这个多重职业组合一段时间了吼。那通常啊，学者在写书啊、开课啊，都希望自己的理论能够经得起时间的考验。但我们都知道，过去这短短1-2年 ，AI 的进步速度简直像是搭火箭。所以我很好奇，从您最初萌生这个见解写成书，到现在面对生成式 AI 的大爆发，这中间有没有哪一刻或是哪一个科技突破，让你有点冒冷汗，觉得说，哇，糟糕了，这个颠覆了我的假设啊，我的理论可能需要大幅度的修改了。
No, to be honest, I want to send thank you gifts to ChatGPT, to OpenAI, to Anthropic. They are doing wonderful things for my theory because as AI takes over all of the mundane, low cognitive effort, busy work, what is left is what is uniquely human in work. And that is the opportunity for everyone to be able to identify what they have specifically to offer. I talk a lot about in the book my human Venn diagram, where I bring to the table this unique blend of business, technology, the arts, these worlds that I've inhabited, and this perspective that I'm able to bring because of it. I can connect these dots. I can bring different ideas, and that informs what I have to offer. And I think everyone has that human Venn diagram. We all have these different components that offer our identity and our unique perspective. And sometimes that gets lost as we go up through the corporate world and we sort of tailor ourselves to fit into a box. And those boxes are being destroyed right now with the onslaught of AI taking over these tasks and sometimes these jobs. So I expect we are going to see more and more emphasis on the portfolio life as we continue to see this disruption to work and to how people see themselves, how they create their lives, and how they think about future-proofing.
AI explosion actually boosts your idea to to a higher stage.
I mean, book sales are taking off.
Yeah. OK， 接下来呢，我要来邀请 Professor Wallace 来做一个思想实验。我们来想象，现在是2028年，那 AI 呢已经进步到可以独立完成90%的白领工作。那政府呢，为了应对可能会发生的大失业潮呢，决定来实施工作配额制。每个人呢，每天只能从事2小时的有给职工作。那剩下的时间呢，就必须要自己寻找生存的意义。那我想请教 Professor Wallace， 这时候你眼前有2个选项。那第一个选项呢，就是用这个宝贵的2小时，极致钻研一个 AI 绝对无法触及的微小领域。有多微小呢？比如说去修复中古世纪的古籍之类的，成为全球0.01%的顶尖职人。那这个职位呢，蛮安全的，但也可能会失去与世界连结的其他可能性。那第二个选项呢，是彻底放弃这2个小时的高薪，好，那同时经营10个微小型身份，很多的 portfolio， 很多的 identity， 不管是社区领袖啊、DJ 啊、手工皂的创业者啊等等的。那虽然每一项的收入呢都极度的不稳，而且可能随时会倒闭，但拥有了很高的生命弹性。那在这样子的极端的时代，你会选择哪一个？
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
If I'm only getting paid for 2 hours of work every day, what am I doing with the rest of my time?
You get to
do anything I want?
Do anything you want, but you might get paid, you might not get paid. Yeah.
Okay, easy. I'm picking option A.
You're picking option A?
Because in my portfolio, the rest of my time can make up the hobbies, the creative development, the family time, the experimentation. I can DJ without getting paid in my non-paid time. The 2 paid hours every day are meant to meet the needs of provide financial support for my family. So I want to optimize those 2 hours the best I can. So I think one of the things that's probably misunderstood about a portfolio life is I don't want you to take on as many possible things as you can. It's bad portfolio design to have like 2% allocation into 50 investments.
Yeah.
That's not a design. So as you think about your design, you want to think about like what is the job being done by each of these investments. And so if my work investment for 2 hours every day is meet my financial needs, I want to go all in on the highest return I can. That's option A. And then I can make other investments for my fun, my community, my DJing elsewhere. I've never tried DJing. Now I want to.
Yeah.
Darn. I got to drop something if I pick up DJing.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Redesign your life.
You gotta say no to things in order to be able to say yes to others.
Yeah. Thank you for your answers. And Professor Wallace, 你最近在这个知识卫星上开了一堂线上课程，可不可以跟我们聊一下这堂课到底在教什么，以及上完这堂课我们可以获得什么？
It is a course that really talks about disruption in the age of AI and what that means both from a technology level, a business model level, and a personal level. So we get into how this impacts what your value is when the cost of execution goes to zero, as we talked about earlier, and how you can increase that value at a personal level, right? Building your judgment, improving your communication skills. We talk about from a business model level, how you can build those moats. What are the competitive edges that are more valuable? What are the strategic powers that you can really defend in this era? And what are the ones that you are going to have to give up on? And then we talk about it from a personal level. A lot of the things that we've been talking about from the portfolio life, really thinking about how do you factor this in to a broader sense of designing your life in a space where you can't see the future. And knowing that you can't see that, how are you making these choices in that way? So we're talking about a lot of experimentation, using these tools to learn quickly at a super cheap cost, and to get fluent in ways that allow you to apply them to your personal situation. So we do a lot of exercises. There's a workbook that comes along with this that really gives you the opportunity over these 21 or 22 units to apply all of these exercises to your personal situation, whether you're a business owner or an employee or an entrepreneur, either current or aspiring.
所以我们可以想象这堂课的知识应该是非常丰富，而且我觉得这是一个抉择的时刻，因为如果我们现在不做准备，我们可能就会持续的焦虑，然后持续的担心说我对我自己时间或是我对自己人生的投资，我的分配到底正不正确。那如果说在这个时候你需要一个启动的契机的话，那我觉得Professor Wallace 的这堂课呢，可以作为大家的一个点火的燃料。如果您对这个 Wallace 教授呢，在知识卫星上这堂课程呢有兴趣的话，我们频道下方的资讯栏呢也有课程的连结啊，你可以输入我们的折扣码，可以再折350元。谢谢 Professor Wallace。那我想呢，不同于单纯的这个工具教学这堂课程呢，其实是为了要带大家重新理解 AI 时代的这个商业优势，从商学院的角度来辨识真正能够获利的赛道，来导入高效的人机协作流程，那也可以建立一个具弹性的多重职涯布局。那我想这堂课呢，也是 Wallace 教授在哈佛 MBA 教授的最新课纲非常难得，也推荐大家一起来学习。我们今天呢，要非常感谢这个 Professor Wallace 来帮我们拆解哈佛最前沿的生存策略。但我想呢，最后也留给大家一个问题，就是如果有一天 AI 真的把我们的效率都夺走了，然后让我们被迫进入多重职涯，那被迫去寻找工作以外的意义， 这个对我们人类来说到底是一场毁灭性的失业灾难，还是我们这辈子我们几百年来第一次拥有了真正的自由呢？这可以是一个思想实验，但也可以是我们每个人身上即将发生的一个抉择。那今天是我们的特别节目，我们很高兴邀请到 Professor Wallace。那思想实验室，我们就下集再见喽，拜拜，
拜拜。
欢迎来到思想实验室，我是国威。思想实验室的 YouTube 会员功能今天起正式上线了，感谢大家一直以来的信任。想邀请最挺我们的你，与我们一起走得更远。有了大家的支持，我们承诺会继续制作更多优质的内容，在未来与大家一起做不同主题的思想实验。欢迎点击下方的加入按钮，与我们一同前行。